This is Ro
and Jenny
with Hot Recruiting.
Interview tips, how to answer the question, what is your expected compensation or how much do you want to make in this role?
Yes, this is everyone's favorite topic. No one and everyone loves to talk about it because we all want to make more money, but it's very difficult for most people to ask for more.
It's taboo to talk about money and how much you make.
Yeah.
But that has got to go.
And you don't ever want to exclude yourself from being hired. I don't want to ask for too little because I don't want to show like I'm undervaluing myself. I don't want to ask for too much because I don't want to kick myself out of the race by just being out of range. So yeah, it could be a very difficult conversation for most people.
So what do you say? What do you do? What are some of the tips that people can take into account to answer that question? Make sure they're staying true to themselves. Know your budget. How do you go about it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely know what you want to be making for sure before you're going into any interview. Know what you feel your, skill sets are worth, how much you need to live day to day, what your rent is, what your budget is, have a set amount in mind. Let's say for easy math, that's 100K a year. That's what you're set on. Yeah, you can deviate a little bit up or down, but have in mind what you're going after. If your skill set level is around 50K, don't be shooting for 100K, really know where you're at, and have that number in mind so you aren't thrown off. And also now with the Pay Transparency Act, most job postings have to have the pay range on the job. So that's really helpful. And if for some reason they don't have it, then you can go on Indeed, Glassdoor, Monster, LinkedIn Jobs, so many platforms you can go and look up similar roles. Let's say you're looking for a director of marketing role, and you can go type that into any job board and kind of start looking and get kind of an idea of what that range is. I think that's, do some homework ahead of time, do some research, look that up, look up similar industries, similar products that the company are selling so you can get more in line with what that range is that you could potentially see on your end. When you do get to that conversation and you're having that question about pay, it usually happens in your first interview because the recruiter usually needs to show that to the hiring manager and say, hey, this person's in range, take a look at them, so you want to, like I said, have that number in mind. But then if you haven't seen their range, don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. Just say hey, what is your, kick it back to them. If they ask you the question, what are you looking to make? Just say, oh, that's a great question. I'm curious to know what your range is. So once they tell you your range, if it's too broad, you can always say, hey, that sounds like a really broad range. Do you have a budgeted amount for this role? Is there a budgeted range that you have? So you can kind of get more around that. And then you could also give a range. Just be like, oh, I'm looking for 100, 100 to 120K. It just depends on bonus, total compensation package, which includes your benefits, your 401k, medical, dental, pet insurance, tuition reimbursement, all of these other added benefits in there.
What's the one thing people should not do or say when answering that question?
Definitely blank stare, I don't know, is not helpful. You should know this. That's part of being prepared for the interview. You should definitely know what you're looking for. I wouldn't say oh, whatever you're willing to pay me. I have heard people say that before, or oh, I'll be happy with whatever. No, be prepared, know what you're worth, know what your skill set value is worth. You're going to be compensated and you should be compensated fairly. So know exactly what you need for yourself to be able to take this role.
Okay, we're ready.
Yes, we're ready. So let's role play, if you're game. So we can I'll show you what it will look like when you're having that conversation with the recruiter.
Okay.
Jenny, you mentioned a lot of great things that you're looking from a company. So if all those were in place for you, what would you ideally need to make in order to take this role?
I haven't looked. I'm just looking for a job and I'll be so happy to just get hired. So I'm totally fine. I don't want to exclude myself.
Okay, great.
Wrong.
Yeah, I would usually I say great, which I don't mean great, but I'm just my go-to is great. And then I'd probably dig for more information. I'd be like, okay, well, ideally for you to like be able to take a role, what would you need? Like I'd fish for more. Usually the recruiter will do that. So yeah, wrong. That's the what not to do. So let's try it again with the tools we learned,
A little bit more.
and the tips, our hot recruiting tips we just learned. So um, Jenny, you mentioned a lot of really great things that you're looking for from a company. Let's say all those were in place here. What would you need in order to take this role compensation wise?
Yeah, I actually didn't see a range of pay on the website. Can you tell me a little bit about what the range is for this role?
Yeah, that's a great question. The range is around 80 to 120K.
Okay. Is there a specific budgeted amount for that? That's not like a very big range, but I really want to understand like what would be a more realistic number so that I can set my expectations.
Yeah. So the hiring manager ideally has budgeted around 100 to 110K for this role.
Okay, great. That's actually within my range as well. So I think it'll be a great fit.
Oh, perfect. Okay, well, I will just note that down. You're between 100 and 110K.
Thanks.
Great. And that was perfect. Just don't forget to mention, yeah, that's great. That's in my range. Of course, it's, you know, including benefits and everything. But yeah, if we get to that point, we can have that conversation. So make sure you're also indicating that that's in your range, but you're also like wanting to know about benefits later on. So
It's within my range, but I'd be curious to know as we move along, like what your benefit package is so that I can compare evenly.
yes, perfect. So those are our hot recruiting tips for the day. I'm Ro, Jenny with Hot Recruiting. Thanks for watching.